grass uneaten. Humans avoid the deep Kalahari like the plague because man must have water to live. So the beautiful landscapes are devoid of people. Except for the little people of the Kalahari. Pretty, dainty, small and graceful, the Bushmen. Where any other person would die of thirst in a few days, they live quite contentedly in this desert that doesn't look like a desert. They know where to dig for roots and bulbs and tubers, and which berries and pods are good to eat. And of course they know what to do about water. For instance, in the early morning you can collect dewdrops from leaves that were carefully laid out the previous evening. Or a plume of grass can be a reservoir. And if you have the know-how, an insignificant clump of twigs can tell you where to dig. Then you come to light with an enormous tuber. You scrape shavings off it with a stick that was split to give it a sharp edge. You take a handful of the shavings, point your thumb at your mouth, and squeeze. They must be the most contented people in the world. They have no crime, no punishment, no violence, no laws, no police, judges, rulers, or bosses. They believe that the gods put only good and useful things on the earth for them to use. In this world of theirs, nothing is bad or evil. Eating a poisonous snake is not bad. You just have to keep away from the sharp end. Actually, a snake is very good. In fact, it's delicious. And the skin makes a fine pouch. They live in the vastness of the Kalahari in small family groups. One family of Bushmen might meet up with another family once in a few years, but for the most part they live in complete isolation, quite unaware that there are other people in the world. In the deep Kalahari there are Bushmen who have never seen or heard of civilized man. Sometimes they hear a thundering sound when there are no clouds in the sky, and they assume that the gods have eaten too much again and their tummies are rumbling up there. Sometimes they can even see the evidence of the gods' flatulence. Their language has an idiosyncrasy of its own. It seems to consist mainly of clicking sounds. They're very gentle people. They'll never punish a child or even speak harshly to it. So of course those kids are extremely well behaved, and their games are cute and inventive. When the family needs meat, the hunter dips his tiny arrow in a brood that acts as a tranquilizer. So when he shoots a buck, it only feels a sting and the arrow drops out. The buck runs away, but soon it gets very drowsy and it stops running. After a while, it goes to sleep. And the hunter apologizes to his prey. He explains that his family needs the meat. The one characteristic which really makes the Bushmen different from all the other races on Earth is the fact that they have no sense of ownership at all. Where they live, there's really nothing you can own. Only trees and grass and animals. In fact, these Bushmen have never seen a stone or a rock in their lives. The hardest things they know are wood and bone. They live in a gentle world, where nothing is as hard as rock or steel or concrete. Only 600 miles to the south, there's a vast city. And here you find civilized men. Civilized man refused to adapt himself to his environment. Instead, he adapted his environment to suit him. So he built cities, roads, vehicles, machinery, and he put out power lines to run his labor-saving devices. But somehow he didn't know when to stop. The more he improved his surroundings to make his life easier, the more complicated he made it. So now his children are sentenced to 10 to 15 years of school just to learn how to survive in this complex and hazardous habitat they were born into. And civilized man who refused to adapt himself to his natural surroundings now finds that he has to adapt and readapt himself every day and every hour of the day to his self-created environment. For instance, if the day is called Monday and the number 730 comes up, you have to disadapt yourself to your domestic surroundings and readapt yourself to an entirely different environment. 800 means everybody has to look busy.
I've got a very good story here about having got children. Yeah, all right, look, I'm sorry. I'll only print sweetness and light even if it's more family.
1030 says you can stop looking busy for 15 minutes. And then you have to look busy.
Good story?
Yeah, they're so short they'll take anybody who can read and write.
I don't know. I got balled up for writing a story on mother. He says one page about my students. Like a black I'm sorry.
And so your day is chopped up into little pieces, and in each segment of time you have to adapt to a new set of circumstances.
May I share a table?
No wonder some people go off the radio.
Does the noise in my head bother you? No. Pete, have you still got that story about the TV show?
Yeah, you want to use it?
But in the Kalahari, it's always Tuesday, or Thursday if you like, or Sunday. No clocks or calendars tell you to do this or that. Literally strange new things sometimes appear in the sky. Noisy birds that flew without flapping their wings. One day, something fell from the sky.
I'm erasing the same way he erases me, but that kind of stuff.
For four nations, their championship hopes are finished in Phoenix.
He had never seen anything like this in his life. It looked like water, but it was harder than anything else in the world. He wondered why the gods had sent this thing down to the earth. It was the strangest and most beautiful thing they had ever seen, and they wondered why the gods had sent it to them. Albo got his finger stuck in the thing, and the children thought he was very funny. At first, he tried the thing out to cure thongs. It had the right shape and just the right weight. It was also beautifully smooth and ideal for curing snakeskin. And Pablo discovered you could make music on it. And every day they discovered a new use for the thing. It was harder and heavier and smoother than anything they'd ever known. It was the most useful thing God had ever given them. A real labor-saving device. But the gods had been careless. They had sent only one stir. A feeling of wanting to own, of not wanting to share. And other things came. Anger, jealousy, hate, and violence. He was angry with the dogs. He shouted, "Take back your thing, we don't want it, for the trouble it brought." But the dogs did not take it back. He shouted, "You must be crazy to send us this thing, take it back." Then he shouted, "Look out, look out!" But he spoke too late, and the thing fell short of the ground. He carried the thing away from the shelter and buried it. That evening, there was no laughter and no chatter around the family fire. A strange feeling of shame had come over the family. They were very quiet. He said, "I have buried the thing. It will not make us unhappy again." That night, a hyena smelled the blood on the thing and dug it up. But a bad tenant chased the hyena away from the territory and it dropped the thing. The next day, Connie found it. Her brother Coma heard her playing on it, and he said, let me try too." That night, the family was very unhappy.